I know exactly what many of you are going through right now. That heavy emotional exhaustion, emptiness, apathy, and disappointment in the market. You don't even feel like opening charts or reading the news anymore. It feels as if everything is over. And what's interesting, today, for most traders, the emotional pain feels even stronger than it did on October 10th, that infamous day when altcoins got wiped out. You might ask, how do I know this? Because first, I'm human too, and I feel those same emotions. And second, I've lived through this before. The last time I felt this way was at the end of December 2020, moving into January 2021, right after the collapse of XRP caused by the SEC's heavy pressure. Back then, the regulator basically threatened to destroy the entire altcoin market. XRP crashed by 35%, wiping out countless margin traders, even while Bitcoin was still rising. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? And what happened next? No immediate recovery, no instant to the moon. Instead, we entered a long phase of uncertainty, sideways consolidation. Yes, the same triangle pattern we're seeing now. During that period, the market left us alone with our losses, with portfolios deep in red, and with endless negativity from others on forums, Twitter, Telegram chats, everywhere. It felt hopeless. But history later showed that those exact days were actually the golden days before the madness began, right before the altcoins exploded for dozens of X's. Let's look back at some real comments from that time. December 2020 to January 2021. People wrote, "In the previous cycle, everything pumped together. Now only top coins are growing. People are scared, there's no money, the pandemic is killing risk appetite." Does that sound familiar? It's exactly what we hear today. Once again, Bitcoin and its dominance are rising. Large cap coins like ETH, BNB, and Solana are holding strong, while small and mid cap altcoins are bleeding. We're talking about macroeconomic problems, US interest rates, and lack of liquidity. The same as back then. And guess what? All those fears didn't stop the market from launching a powerful alt season later on. Structurally, the charts now look almost identical to the ones we saw in early 2021. Bitcoin strong, altcoins crushed, no quick recovery, and tons of triangles. The similarity is almost eerie. So yes, it's uncomfortable, scary, and uncertain. But saying everything is lost would be completely wrong. Because if history teaches us anything, it's that these are the moments that test conviction the most, right before the breakthrough. And here's the difference this time. Now we have global crypto legalization, institutional investors through ETFs, massive stablecoin liquidity inflows, and far more mature infrastructure than ever before. Back in 2020, people couldn't even buy crypto easily. Banks were blocking transactions. The world was under pandemic lockdowns and fear was real. Today, we have uncertainty, sure, but it's man-made chaos, political noise, not an existential crisis. Risk markets, including US stocks, are still near all-time highs, and overall conditions are actually better than before. So, my advice for your long-term spot positions, the ones you bought in anticipation of alt season, is simple. Leave them alone. Step away from the charts, live your life offline. Distract yourself, join our Telegram chat. It's like a family there. Or just trade short-term opportunities with us while the spot market waits. And believe me, happiness will come to those who stay patient. Even though it's no longer trendy, even though it's toxic to say this out loud, I'm still waiting for alt season. It will come, but it won't be like the previous ones. This time, not every coin will rise. That's why next we'll talk about which coins are most at risk and which ones have the real potential to survive and grow in the new cycle. Now let's talk about something most people try to ignore. The projects that, with very high probability, won't grow at all in the next cycle. The first and biggest risk group, empty shells. These are the altcoins left over from the last bull run. The ones that flew hundreds of X's simply because of hype. But behind them, there was no real product. No working business model, no revenue, nothing. They're just wrappers. Pretty logos with no substance. And please, Don't rely on glossy white papers that promise to revolutionize the world or build teleportation and save humanity. That's not a business, that's a fairy tale. A clear example is Kadena, KDA. In the last bull cycle, it gave over 120 tags, but today it's nothing more than an empty shell. The team simply couldn't handle their expenses, ran out of funds, and officially announced that the project was shutting down. They didn't make it to the next Altseason. Now, could such empty coins still pump during a hype phase? Of course, they could. Low-cap coins sometimes give wild speculative spikes, but remember, the risks there are massive. You might catch a lucky 30x, or you might get stuck forever in a coin like Kadena. The second category are projects that launch on exchanges already overvalued. These are the coins that come to the market during an alt season with a fully inflated FDV, fully diluted valuation, no trading history, and an insane initial market cap. A perfect example is Trump's World Liberty, WLF token. It launched with a $40 billion FDV, and since then, insiders and early investors have been dumping it non-stop. This kind of coin can fall for the entire bull cycle until it finds a fair value. Maybe around $200 million, a collapse of more than 20x. Only after such a deep reset could it stabilize and accumulate like Starknet did, and maybe then show some growth. But that's only if the developers don't abandon the project after the sell-off. Another example is Hype, a decentralized exchange token. Yes, it has real volume and revenue, but its FDV is also around $40 billion. Ask yourself, what are you expecting? A 10x? That would make its valuation $500 billion. More expensive than Ethereum, the blockchain on which 90% of the entire crypto market is built. That's unrealistic. And when I look at Hype's chart, I see exactly the same pattern we saw in SUI before its major drops. Sharp rises, sudden cliffs, and heavy distribution. This is how big money unloads into retail. So yes, the potential here is limited. Retail investors once thought the Trump token was the next big thing. They bought it near a $100 billion FDV. Now most of them are stuck, hoping that the same insiders who dumped on them will someday use that money to pump the price again. But that's an illusion. The truth is that money is long gone, moved to their bank accounts, never to return to crypto. That bull run for the Trump token is over. There might be small pumps, but the big story is finished. Meanwhile, projects like Lido, LDO, Arbitrum, Optimism, Avalanche, Chainlink, and others still have real products, steady income, and strong treasuries. Even if they need more funding, they can easily attract investors because they've proven themselves. That's the difference between a hype coin and a real project. The third group, coins that have already had their alt season. A great example is Injective, INJ, from the Cosmos ecosystem. In early 2024, it was trading around 120, then skyrocketed above $50, dozens of X's. But after massive profit-taking, it fell back to $85. Now, what's the chance that all the early holders haven't sold yet? Pretty low. So, can it rise again? Sure, maybe. But the probability of a fresh explosive run is much higher for coins that are still in accumulation. Projects that have been quietly building for 500 days without breaking out yet. Like we saw recently with CC, so always check where your coin is on the chart. If it's still in accumulation, that's good. If it has a strong team, a working product, and ideally a revenue model like a real company, even better. The best case scenario, your coin looks like a proper business, not a meme. It could even be a future candidate for a spot ETF. That's where the big institutional money will go. If most of your portfolio fits that description, you're probably safe. But if it's full of empty shells, you're sitting on ticking time bombs. This is what I call a mature and sober view of the crypto market. Realistic, professional, and free from illusions. So friends, if you appreciate this level of honest analysis, make sure to stay active. Like, comment, share. Your support truly fuels this work. And as always, if I spot new strong coins with bullish charts, solid tokenomics, and real upside potential, I share them first in our free Telegram, links in the description. One of the latest examples was ZC, which we bought around $50. And even in this gloomy market, it gave us 5x profit. And I'm sure it won't be the last. Thank you all for your support, and remember, your engagement keeps this community alive. Have a wonderful, productive day. See you in the next update.